now. It's Boomer Life, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Well, good evening and welcome to Boomer Life here on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox, and on this episode of the program, we're going to focus on the brain and how people deal with the traumatic brain injuries. It's a pleasure to welcome from Neurokinetics Clinic in Vancouver, Dr. Philippe Silvestre and Sonia Dale. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Dr. Philippe, talk to us a little bit about your background. You have this wonderful French accent, so I must assume that you were medically trained formally in France.
This is exact. I grew up in the south of France. My family is from the Pyrenees Mountains.
Aha.
And but I grew up, there is not enough to learn medicine in the Pyrenees, so I had to go to Marseille in Provence on the other side of France.
Mm-hmm.
Still south, and I spent basically almost 30 years of my life learning medicine in the Faculty of Medicine and Faculty of Sciences over there.
Aha, but you grew up in the mountain country of the Pyrenees, that's between France and Spain in the south, correct?
This is correct.
And so that you end up in your adult life many years later in the mountains and near the ocean of British Columbia shouldn't be too shocking to anyone then, should it?
Well, there is a lot of common between the BC weather and the Pyrenean weather, which is caught between the Atlantic and Mediterranean Sea.
Right, right.
And a lot of rain as well, and tall trees. It's green, there's a good reason for that.
Absolutely. Now, why did you select, when you went into medicine, and why did you end up focused on the area of the brain and ultimately this career treating brain injuries? It's got to be a compelling story. You were in the French Air Force. You were a flight surgeon as well, weren't you?
Yes.
So did that somehow or another lead you to the exploration of the brain?
Very true. I, as a flight surgeon, and when I began my career after 12 years of medicine, at the time I was still involved in some learning about some specialties such as sports medicine, aerospace medicine, and neuroscience.
Okay.
I have been a performer out of taste. I have been a climber, I have been a flyer, and just loving outdoors and anything that is attached to that. And I always was amazed by the resources a human body and human mind can develop when we have to resolve a given problem in hostile environment.
True.
That has been one of the passions I have and a strong interest who led me in medicine, number one. Number two, to understand how we operate and how this human body and mind performance can take place.
Okay. Now, Sonia, we're going to get you to tell your story, but we have to get Philippe over to Canada first because that's where you two started working together. So give us a couple more minutes.
Sure.
Because we've still got Philippe in the French Air Force as a flight surgeon. So now connect those two dots, please. How did you go from working as a member of the French Air Force to working in the very specialized line of brain injury therapy that you do here in Canada in 2015?
Well, I have been always interested in understanding what I was seeing and what I was trying to do to help people.
Okay.
My capacity of being a physician. And I have been involved in many types of theaters, whether in the military or civilian. I was involved in some expeditions as well, where people are basically sign up to expose themselves for several weeks in extremely hostile environments, and things happen. Not only because of the mission, because of what is the environment they are immersed into.
And would you be a medical observer for these experiments, so to speak?
Yes,
okay.
I was.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I actually learned a lot about this, and I'm still learning a lot.
So well, I'm sure, but I'm probably still constantly impressed by the capacity of the human brain to adapt.
True.
And I guess it is kind of an ongoing lesson in life, isn't it?
Very true. What led me to neuroscience is, for example, this beautiful concept of neural plasticity, which explains very much and models a lot of abilities we have brain-wise to regenerate, to rejuvenate, and to perform greater performance, even though we should be worn out. Amazing things happen when you are exposed in demanding situations, and one has to resolve them.
So all of these experiments and observations lead to a certain point where you decide to come to Canada. What caused you to come to Canada? And by the way, we're awfully glad you made the decision. But what made you make the call?
Well, frustration. Frustration. France is a beautiful country. I love France, of course. I am a natural over there. All my family is over there, and most of my friends over there. But France is small, and Canada is difficult to beat Canada for space and time.
That's true. Lots of room for everybody in this country. So when did you come? When did you move over?
I moved in 95, mid-90s. It took for me 3 years to make the decision. I was extremely busy in France, as you can understand. I was splitting my career between 3 areas: the military, Air Force and flight test centers, operations, the academics. I love academics. I love training and sharing what I'm doing, educating people and learning in the same process, and of course treating patients.
Right. So when you came here in 95, neurokinetics was not a thing at that time, was it? What did you do when you first came over here?
Well, neurokinetics, I would like to take the opportunity to clarify what means neurokinetics.
Oh, good opportunity to take, too. Go ahead, please.
Neurokinetics is not a medical specialty. It is just a name I put together to set up a platform and flag it so that I could do my job and provide my expertise to people.
Okay. So did you form neurokinetics when you arrived in Canada in 95 then?
2 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now it has been an entity since 1997.
Yes, and it has become such an entity that I am approached even by academics asking me about neurokinetics, and they mean a medical specialty here. So it has been astounding.
I'll bet it has. Now, Sonia, finally, you get to come into the picture here.
Finally.
That's right. You joined Neurokinetics a couple of years ago. You're the office manager, and you're Philippe's executive assistant.
That is correct.
So
yes.
what sort of background do you bring to the table at Neurokinetics?
Well, I have a bit of counseling. I have a bit of psychology background.
Mm-hmm.
I previously have worked in the medical field alongside with acupuncturists, chiropractors, a lot of psychologists over the years, so about 10 plus years. Aging myself here, but 10 plus years that I have.
It's boomer life. There's no chance of appearing to be old on this program. You're totally outranked by old people here. Yeah.
So yes, that's what I bring over to Neurokinetics right now.
Okay. Now, Philippe, also, you talking, Sonia was talking moments ago about acupuncture. You, too, have become an acupuncturist.
Correct.
Did you receive that accreditation after coming to Canada, or had you received that while you were still in France before you came over?
That was actually a part of my fundamental training. I was trained in Oriental medicine, including acupuncture, in medical school in France.
All right.
In Faculty of Medicine.
All right. So, but did that open up an area of interest that is different? Do acupuncturists deal with traumatic events and traumatic injury recovery differing? Is their approach, is their thinking different than, shall we say, an orthodox Western doctor?
Totally. There are two different models which actually overlap very well. They are not exclusive. They don't exclude each other. If one is put in a place where one has absorbed all the body of knowledge that is relevant with acupuncture, the Oriental medical background behind,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this integrative modeling that Oriental medicine allows to understand the functions and the functionality, physical and mental, of a human body, that is a totally different approach than what we know in Western medicine. But when we blend those two, you get into a place where it's pretty unique. It's like when you reach the summit in the Alps of the Eiger Mountain or the Mont Blanc, and you will see all of these crests and peaks all around you, and yet it makes a total sense. They are not excluding each other. They are part of a vast ensemble.
Okay, so now here in British Columbia, again, a very exciting milieu for you to have chosen to work in because of the overlap of the Western establishment medical practitioners. And, for example, now in Vancouver, you can get a degree in traditional Chinese medicine. You used to have to go to China for that. So clearly, this little corner of Canada particularly is pretty avant-garde when it comes to the integration of Eastern and Western thinking.
Well, Sterling, you couldn't describe better the actual history of this. When I came here in the mid-90s, I was the core, or what would become within the following years of my arrival here, the College for the Acupuncturist and Oriental Medical Practitioners in British Columbia,
Right.
which is another medical college which is totally equivalent by law and by status under the Ministry of Health and the Health Profession Act,
Yes.
compared to the College of Physicians and Surgeons, which actually regulates only the Western medical practitioners.
Right.
So we have actually in BC, we have established a blueprint since the early 2000s, the blueprint of medical regulations under the Health Profession Act, and anything that relates to protection of the public and regulation of scope of practice, standard of practice, and the quality assurance in medical practice. We have established a blueprint which is now working his way all across Canada through other provinces. 5 other provinces besides British Columbia have now the equivalent medical college, which is the other medical college, referring to the College of Physicians and Surgeons.
Interesting stuff. And you sit on the board of directors of one of these organizations still, don't you?
I had the honor and privilege to sit for 6.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. And so isn't it interesting, Sonia, to come into this business and see a practitioner like Philippe and his influence on not only our resources here in British Columbia, but at precisely the same moment the rest of the country is picking up on the fact that, they do things differently out in BC for a reason. They're getting results.
Yes, that's correct. I'm very happy, very pleased to have met Dr. Philippe and have the honor and privilege to work for Neurokinetics. So very, very happy.
So, Philippe, tell us about Neurokinetics, the actual physical location. How long have you been there?
After arriving here, I spent 6 months extended to 9 months as a visiting physician at VGH,
Okay.
General Hospital. I was welcome in the ENT division for 6 months, and my contract was extended to 9 months. And then I have to find a way cooperating, collaborating with other people. And nobody actually would really understand what I was saying or what I was doing, just because the differences in background were extremely fundamentally different.
Oh, I see. Okay, so what I suppose I'm after here is how you manage to break through all of that and establish yourself as successfully as you have become in those 15 to 20 years that you've been running Neurokinetics in Vancouver. What have you, because you're very focused and you're very purposeful in your work, so how have you built this model over that amount of time?
I think it was the result of consistency, being consistent in helping people who couldn't find help otherwise. So basically, as the new kid in a block, I was totally misunderstood and left behind, or even meeting sometimes some challenges from other established organizations or individuals. And despite that, my strength has become basically the patients. So time and patience were my allies, became my allies at best, to convince that actually what I brought here in was valuable and helpful.
And especially on the side of the patients, because you really have specialized in accepting and rehabilitating patients that no one else will take.
Correct.
They've gone to everybody else in town. They have no satisfaction. They're still in pain. Their lives are very incomplete, and they just want their lives back. Thank you very much. And you will take these patients and enjoy some considerable success.
Yes, it's a lot of hard work, you guess that, but it makes me also very humble in sharing my success, because it's not easy, and God knows how much we are not in control of many things.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, Sonia and Philippe are going to walk us through what happens when someone, if this isn't happening to you, surely to goodness you know someone in your life who's had there's been an accident, there's been a workplace event, there's been something on the ski hill, something happened a while back and that person got hurt. And still to this day, lo these many years or months later, it's still not right. And the person still complains. And they don't like complaining, they don't like being a burden, but they can't help themselves. These people in my studio are the people that you or that person in your life need to get to know. We're talking neurokinetics on this edition of Boomer Life on CIL 650 with plenty still ahead. Stay with us.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.